One of the things we're going to give you today is a better understanding of change, so you'll be at greater peace with the whole idea of change. Change, for some people, is kind of the pendulum approach. Things go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Very easy, just wait for things to come back. Have you noticed that that doesn't quite do the trick, doesn't quite explain what's going on? All right, let's try another model. Another model for change is kind of the clock face. You know, what goes around comes around. Eventually things go right back to where they were. And still, if that were true, we wouldn't ever be talking about change, because there has to be a different way of understanding what change is all about. And so we're going to offer you another new way of thinking about change itself as it relates to millennials and pretty much everything else. It's kind of like a wagon wheel. You know, the wagon wheel starts at the top, goes around, comes around, but it's moved forward. So change is about things going back to new places.
5. The right to a speaker with a wide range of experience, knowledge, insight, and examples. Because the best insights come from connecting the many things we deal with in life with the things we need to know for any particular purpose. One of the reasons that we want to understand the customer better and better and better is because we keep talking about being customer focused. You know, you've heard the words. The latest trend in marketing is customer focus. Is it really the latest trend? Here's an interesting idea. In Thebes, that's Egypt, about 3,000 years ago, an advertisement appeared. The advertisement appeared basically for the return of a slave to the shop of Hapu the weaver. And if you notice, in this advertisement for a returned slave, Hapu made a point of pointing out where the best cloth is woven to your desires. Customer focus, a brand new idea.
What matters most in America today, right now, today? Well, number one, knowing how to cope with this unprecedented economic chaos. All of us want to know what to do about this unprecedented set of events that have taken the economy to unprecedented lows, unprecedented places, unprecedented disaster. Well, maybe not. The next thing you will want to know is, how will America vote next week? So the solutions that we think we're going to get to in understanding what matters most in America is, first and foremost, nothing in either event, the election or the economy, is unprecedented. Let me repeat that for you. In spite of the fact that we think today the economy is unlike any moment in history, you're going to go back with me through 113 years of the Dow Jones and find out that this place seems very familiar. And in the same vein, when we talk about the election, we're going to look at the reality that maybe things are not unprecedented. So let's talk about what we should be able to look at in reality. Let's look at 113 years of ups and downs, and let's look at the necessity to extend August by 60 days. I'll explain that to you in a moment. The solution to our economic issue is the federal government should stop trying to bail us out and should simply extend the month of August by another 60 days. That will solve all the problems there are. There is something, there has been something, there apparently will continue to be something about the month of October, with some splashes of September. The first panic on Wall Street, and I underline the first panic on Wall Street, occurred just a few short years after the Dow began to exist. 1895, the Dow begins. 1907, the first panic. It was called the rich man's panic. And it basically was exactly what we just saw. An incredible drop in the value of the stock market, which, by the way, had only just begun. How did anybody even know? This was the first group of people who truly could have said, why would people not vote? Why would people in the greatest country in the world, where the greatest freedoms exist, which was founded in order to secure the benefits of liberty, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why don't people vote? I got a reason for that. I'm going to share with you something. This came out of, we've created in my company a little model which is different for understanding consumer mindsets, why people make the decisions they make, and how there are fundamental mindsets for making decisions about anything. And after we got to about 25,000 respondents, we finally said, oh my God, wait a minute. This is true of decision-making, period. Not just about consumers, but essentially about almost anything. So let me walk you through this model very quickly. This is based on, again, a whole new model. It's called the index of what matters most. But here's the idea, is we believe that the world is broken down roughly in these percentages. There are people, by the way, when you guys create products and you market them, your fondest wish is that you can get your customers to become your advocates, right? Stop trying to do that. You're going to be alienating about 92% of your customers. Roughly 8% of the world are natural-born advocates. People who can't help but tell you about something they just found and discovered. Okay? They have this natural propensity. The other 92% don't. And that's why, and I know you've done this, you have said to yourself, you know, our best salespeople really are our employees. We will incent them to speak about what we do. We will get them to tell the world about, and it doesn't work. Because 92% of your employees are not advocates. 8% are. Okay. Another 10% are what we call sophisticates. These are the people who will buy anything that has a brand value cachet. If you pay more for it, so much the better. If it costs more, but you get it for less, that's okay. But you have to establish the fact that it costs more first. And so somebody was talking about pricing. I'm not going to buy it because it's $29. I'm going to buy it because it's $89, and I was clever enough to get it for $29. Or even better, I actually paid the $100, or whatever it might be. So sophisticates want the best of everything. Gradualists are the customers and the people who basically will do one thing but not anything else. So for example, they will, your idea probably somewhere, again I'm guessing, but there's a strategy somewhere that says you're looking for share of wallet from a customer, right? You want Jarden to be in everybody's house. You want everybody to buy everything that you make. It doesn't work that way. Gradualists are the worst kind of people because they will buy one thing, and now you think they're your customer, only to discover that no matter how much you market, how much you send to them, no matter what you do, they'll never buy another thing that you're making. They did it, they bought the thing they needed, and they're done. Okay? Mechanists are people who know how to work the system, know how to use the system. They're the ones that read the fine print and call you up and say, by the way, I think you owe me 2 of these now. Because it says here, and your legal department says, yeah, I guess it does. So mechanists know how to work the system in their favor, and if you want to market to them, you damn well better give them something to play with. So it's a strategy, okay? Conventionals, that's it. The old-fashioned people who are waiting to become better and better and better and work hard and see the day when they grow. It's kind of like the mechanists, or the conventionals are the people who still believe that you should buy a Chevy first, then a Pontiac, then move up to the Oldsmobile, and maybe eventually a Buick, and one day I might buy a Cadillac. But that's it, 9% of the population. Students, and I don't mean college students, I mean people who study things and think about things and read the literature and never make a decision. If you had sales forces, if you had a sales force, you would send them to them, they would sit with them, buy them coffees, tell me about yourself, young man, never buy anything, okay? Then you've got indulgence, which are basically, when I first came up with this idea, my wife said, you really want to call them barbarians? So I went to indulgence. Indulgence are people who have one overriding passion for which they'll basically sacrifice anything. This is a guy who's got a 34-foot boat who lives in a 900-square-foot house. Okay? In the research, while the number was small, indulgence tended to have classic cars and airplanes far more often than people who were immensely more wealthy than they were. Okay, so indulgence, and again, they fool you because you say, here comes an affluent customer. Got a boat. Yeah, but he can't put the fuel in the boat. So you can't sell much. Okay, and caretakers. And caretakers, by the way, interestingly enough, are consumers and people who basically will leave the world probably not much worse than when they got it. But that's about it. They're not going to improve much of anything. It's just going to be pretty much the way they were. Now, that's a consumer model. When it comes to voters, the interesting correlation, and it's like, wow. Remember I said 46% of all Americans don't vote? Okay, so if you add up caretakers who are disengaged, indulgents who are better or more than likely on voting day, they are probably in the ballpark, and students who are studying everything but they haven't had time to get to the voting booth because they're worrying about studying, that's 46%. Isn't it interesting?